What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Schmoedown. I'm former Star Wars champion Andrew Dimalanta.
And I'm Star Wars competitor Niki Dimalanta.
Ooh, we actually got a bit to talk about because changes are afoot, my friends. It's gonna be different.
A lot of changes.
Yeah.
A lot of changes across the board, affecting
all divisions.
You know, some more than others.
Yeah.
But if you didn't catch the rundown, rundown. Frank and Brad had William the Beast Bibiani on, as he is, you know, one of the people who helped formulate the rule book, I think, very much so.
Oh, yeah.
So he was on there and giving us a little rundown about all these new changes.
Yeah.
So we have a little synopses
Yeah.
of each of these changes, and we'll talk about them.
Thank you to the person in the Facebook group. Do you know the username?
This is from Reddit, actually.
Oh, sorry. Reddit, my bad.
I knew I'd find it like that on Reddit. So that's where solid as alphabet soup, a mod. I knew somebody would.
Yeah,
I knew it wouldn't take long.
Because there's no way we're going to sit back and like take notes while we're watching. And
I don't know what we were doing while I was watching, but I was watching, but I was also doing something else at the time.
yeah.
I just don't remember what it was. So there was definitely a couple moments where I was like, what? Go back.
I think you were working on that awesome Rex on the beach photo that you posted.
I thought it was something more important or intense than that, but I guess
but
not.
I think it was around that time. You were doing multiple things at one time.
Yeah.
So
It could have been that, though.
yeah, and I think we do have to mention that like a lot of the complaints or like criticisms of last season was like, oh, rules kept changing like a lot last season. And I think it has to be said, like, the rule book was never like, this is it. It's like
It's a living document.
It's a living document.
As most rule books should be.
Yeah. And, you know, because he was like, you can't change things mid-season. It's like, we've changed things mid-season in previous seasons. So that's nothing different. So I think it's the same thing. It's like certain situations might come up where it's like, oh, well, we really need to tweak that rule.
Yeah. I don't think it would be very wise to have a rule book that's like, no, this is it. And it's never going to change. You know, never update. Well, because I'm guessing people were saying, I'm guessing the criticism would be, wait until, you know, the end of the season to change it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I get that. But you're also going to have, if you have something that happens in a match that's unforeseen, you need to react, you know?
Yeah.
You have a Rooster Cogburn moment. And then if it's almost like they'd be damned if they did, damned if they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, if they didn't somehow react to that or whatever, people be like, oh, what? So there are no rules now? And then if they did react to it, it's like, well, now we're changing the rules. So I feel like it's a double-edged sword, but I think it is wise to have a rule book as a living document, as long as you're not.
Well, now like the 5-pointer is worth 10 points. It's like you can't do stuff like that, but like little minor tweaks to rules, because like there are unforeseen circumstances that will happen.
Yeah.
That we have to change because like, oh, we really didn't see that. We didn't see that being a thing until now.
Yeah.
So now we have to adjust accordingly. And that happened several times last season.
Or something happens that has never happened before.
Yeah, exactly.
Which definitely happened a lot during digital, because we're not used to this format. This isn't the traditional format of the Schmoedown. So yeah, a lot of things happened, especially during digital, that made Christian and the team pivot a little bit, as they should. If they didn't, that would be kind of sucky.
Yeah.
They were so super rigid with everything. I appreciate reactions to stuff, as long as the changes are born from something, a reason.
Yeah.
Not just like we feel like pissing people off, you know, which they don't do, which they haven't done.
Yeah.
I don't believe thus far. But as long as it's something within reason, because of a reason, and in a genuine effort to make improvements.
Yeah, make the game better and flow more smoothly,
right,
without less hiccups. Yeah.
If it's little tweaks mid-season, you got to do some of that sometimes.
Yeah.
If it's major changes, it's what he's doing right now. Major changes, do it in the off season.
Yeah, do it in the off season. Be prepared for it, and there will be changes. I can already foresee that something happening, and like, oh, whoops,
of course,
all berries.
Wow, it's been a while. It's because who knows what this season's going to bring. This season,
we're kind of on the breaking on the edge of like, are we getting studio matches or not?
Exactly. I know that was the intent, but Omicron's like, no,
nope.
I'm still here, and I'm still infectious. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, because I would love to see things happen in person, but I also want people to stay healthy, and I also want this garbage to end. So, you know.
Yeah, because like there was that one rule book rule last year. It's like, oh, if your manager can't be there, then we have like a third party that's not involved your faction, and competitors can't be managers, and like that ended real quick.
That went out the window.
That went out the window. There's a couple other rules in there. It's like, because there was the timeout rule, and it just got removed for whatever reason. So, and it never really was going to be a thing anyways. I don't foresee anybody using it. So
I could see people using it.
I guess we can use it, but
especially in a championship match, strategically trying to stop somebody's momentum.
Yeah,
I could see it coming into play. It just never got the opportunity, and I think that's fine.
Yeah,
I think it's
It just was kind of It's just one of those things that I didn't see anybody really using at length. But so let's go ahead and get into all these changes. And I think the first one was
we got. Do you want me to actually read the whole summary?
Summarize it. I mean,
I'll summarize
TLDR
the summary.
it.
A line judge will not be present at every match.
Okay, yeah. So the line judge,
and they will usually be a member of the writing staff, not a current member, and will have a hard copy of the rulebook on hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I love this rule, and this is one of these things where it's kind of like, why didn't we have this sooner? Because, like I said, this rule is being added just so it takes a lot of weight off of the announcer's shoulders. Because I think Bibiani made a really great analogy. It's like, it'd be like watching football and like the guys that are calling the game. Like
referees?
No. The announcers that are commentating on the game,
right?
Or the referees on the field just doing all that stuff at the same time. So it's like, we don't want somebody that's just trying to keep the match entertaining with banter back and forth that also have to pay attention to. Wait, did he write that right? But I love this rule because now there is actually somebody where all their job is to, especially with the 2-second rule of the correcting yourself type of thing. Now you don't have to go back to the tape and like, oh, well, this person's job is to do that. Yeah. And it's like, well, no, according to my calculation, he or she didn't correct himself in time.
Yeah.
So that's the call.
I think a good example of when a line judge would have been helpful, and it's something very small, like it's not even a big deal, but I think it's a good example, to illustrate it. Because I don't know, I'm sure there's always somebody that's going to be like, that's stupid, like for any one of these rules. So I would submit, like during digital matches, I feel like there was a lot of times that people be, in the comments or whatever, like, oh, they're not telling that person to put their hands up. How come they told that person, but not that person? Yeah. It's like, because they got 52 jillion things going on right now. They're not thinking about that because they haven't had to think about that before, So they're worrying about, am I in the right part of my spreadsheet? Am I asking the right question? Was that answer right? Did they get it in time? They're not. Yeah. So that kind of little detail, they're not thinking about because they've got a lot of other garbage going on. Yeah. So if you got somebody else who they're worried about this while the announcers can worry about that.
And it'll make things more entertaining, and things will flow a lot smoother,
and hopefully take some pressure off of the people on the desk.
Yeah, and especially if it's a part of the writing staff, that maybe there are some words that because pronunciation, spelling, and all that stuff is they can't focus on that. But I think it's great to have somebody that maybe for Star Wars matches, just Ken's behind there being the line judge. So now it's like, well, yeah, that's how it's pronounced. Or technically, because
that would make total sense.
And this doesn't mean that you can't challenge, like, because like
it definitely says you can challenge.
You can always challenge something. Yeah. Even if the line judge judges this, it's like, no, well, I'm still challenging that because I know this, and this. Right. So,
and I think that they are involved in all challenges.
Yes. Yeah. And so I love this rule. It makes the game move a lot smoother. And it'll make for more entertaining matches with the announcers too. So I think that'd be fun.
No, I think it's good.
It's good.
Number 2, all divisions will now have 10 questions plus the opportunity for a bonus point in round 1, and all divisions will now have 5 questions in round 2. Doesn't change anything for the Star Wars division.
Star Wars and IG it won't change.
IG too?
IG was like that too.
Okay, so specialty divisions, they were already like this. Yeah. It's just a bigger change for
singles and teams.
For teams,
it was 6 questions. Now they're getting less opportunity for 2 points in the second, but it's more opportunities in the first for more points. So I like this because it always was confusing. It's like, wait a minute, so there's a teams match, so they have
as evidence. I couldn't even tell you. I think round 1 for singles is 8 questions plus the opportunity for a bonus. Yeah. Teams, didn't realize. I probably would have said 8. So I'm a great example. I can barely. I could barely tell you how many questions are around to in a Star Wars match.
And that's my point, is that say this season somebody is coming into the Schmoedown. Now it's like, Well, wait, why do they get less questions? So
Right.
now it's like it's across the board. Everybody has to answer the same number of questions. It is a little bit more difficult. I don't envy singles and teams players now because like that first round getting to 10, sometimes but then it's if you miss a couple more in the first, there's more opportunities for you to make up those points in the first.
Right.
But I like it because it unifies the league rather than making it feel so like segregated across the divisions. Now it's like, well, this is the Schmoedown. Everybody answers the same amount of points.
Do you remember how many questions there were for a singles match in round 2?
Singles match in round 2 is 4 questions.
So teams and singles was 4?
Teams was 6.
Really?
Yeah, because there's 2 of you.
Oh.
And then I believe that's how it is. Teams was 6 and singles was 4. But now everybody's answering 5. So, and another point that they brought up is like now there's more opportunities for singles and teams competitors to break records and set records.
Earn more points
now. So now it's a little bit more feasible for somebody to. Sorry, I keep bringing 5150 up, but
it's not going to happen in a studio match.
It won't happen.
It would have to go so deep into overtime.
Yeah, but there is more opportunity for that now. Yeah. So say both singles competitors go perfect the entire way. So
that would be so intensely hard for a singles match.
Exactly, but the opportunity is there now for you to make more points, especially in teams now.
Yeah.
So I like this for multiple reasons, but the main thing I like it for is it unifies the league as a whole, and it's like this is a Schmoedown.
No, yeah, I like uniformity.
Yeah,
it works for me. Okay, title accuracy. You can leave out articles at the beginning of a title if the title is long enough. So, for example, Silence of the Lambs is just as correct as the Silence of the Lambs. You cannot change or omit or add a word in the middle of a title, as in Raya the Last Dragon would be incorrect.
Raya and then the Last Dragon.
Because it's and the.
Yeah. Still have to watch that.
If a question has sufficient context, you can leave out certain things. If the question asks which Transformers film has X actor in it, a correct answer need not include Transformers.
Yeah.
Other than that, the title should be exact. Godfather 2 is now incorrect.
Godfather
Part 2. According to PLD, you cannot add an article to the beginning of a title that doesn't already have that article. So Addams Family Values would be correct, while the Addams Family Values would be incorrect. That makes
sense.
The omission of an article at the beginning makes sense.
The addition of it.
I get it.
I get it. Especially since with like perfect example, Suicide Squad versus the Suicide Squad.
Well, that's a very extreme example of this. Those are very, this is obviously there's 2 different movies.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there is the Addams Family Values and Addams Family Values.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't really care.
Yeah. But I think what I take away from this every time like something like this comes up in a question is like, I almost want to pull my hair. I was like, haven't we learned already? Just try to get the title exactly right.
Yeah,
but it's so much to ask.
Yes.
So
think about singles and teams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
and
it's
IG
like,
for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
but like if I were competitors, I'd be trying my hardest to make sure I get it
to not have to rely on a technicality.
Exactly. So try to get it as perfect as possible.
Right.
Especially with titles.
That's the goal.
But I do like that they're including the if there is sufficient evidence in the question, then the whole Harry Potter movies, how are you going to write that entire title out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, if the question is like, oh, what Harry Potter movie or what Wizarding World movie or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, all I have to do is just Prisoner of Azkaban. That's all you have to write. And instead of Harry Potter and the Prisoner, and it's like, come on, guys, you give me 15 seconds to write that?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that's included. Just to...
yeah. If context is given and you have movies that have the franchise title and then like a subtitle kind of thing, that makes complete sense, and I'm sure it'll be much appreciated.
And there was there was something that they brought up. Brad was especially with Back to the Future. It's like, especially with the part, it's like if it's Back to the Future 2, you're incorrect. It has to be Back to the Future Part 2. So that I liked because like you have to be specific. So, yeah.
Okay. Because that would be omitting something in the middle of a title, because technically that is the title. So yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I get it.
So
well,
again,
I don't
this could
envy
change.
Singles and teams players. I'll tell you that much. Or IG for that matter. I also don't envy Star Wars players, but for different reasons. Number 4. Every wheel will now include 9 categories, and this is a big one.
This is the biggest change, I believe.
Every wheel will now include. And I have thoughts in my head about it.
Yes, I do too.
Every wheel will now include 9 categories plus 3 wild cards. Wild cards are not revealed until you land on it and decide to keep it, or forced to keep it if you land on one on your second spin. One wild card will be spinner's choice. One will be opponent's choice. One will be a brand new. Just lost my place. Brand new category never used before. Bibb says the categories will be things players couldn't have practiced for. I thought he said something kind of contradictory to that.
No. It's something that you wouldn't. So say if it's an IG, they can't ask you about something like.
No, Bibb says the categories will be things players couldn't have practiced for.
So
unless that's a typo, because unless I'm misunderstanding it,
I think it's something like in the lines of like, if it was in IG, it'd be like, cars, famous cars or famous vehicles. It's like something you can't really anticipate them at, putting on the wheel, but it's not out of the realm of possible questions they can ask you, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Maybe I'm just not crazy about how that was worded in this description, which is fine.
This is a huge change that I really like because it adds a whole new dimension of strategy to the game.
And the position of the wild cards will change for each match. In title matches, champs will decide to remove wild card slices. Once a wild card slice is used in a match, it cannot be used again, just like regular slices.
Yeah. So, and also if they do decide to keep these on the wheel for title matches, the third betting round, I heard that if...
Oh, that's coming.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Getting ahead of myself. But so I love this change. It's a huge change that I love because it adds a whole new dimension of strategy now. Because like, do you want to take it? Do you want to chance it? Because it could be something that you like, or it could be that wonky new category that you really don't know what they're going to ask you.
Yeah.
So
especially, the wild card, like I keep saying, and it's, we're speaking from the vantage point of specialty players. This is terrifying for singles and teams. I mean, I don't know. We'll see once the first wild card is spun, and if it happens to be this off category one, we'll see what kind of stuff they ask, how off the wall it is, how specific it is. I mean,
it could be ridiculously random, like, hey, quotes said by this actor. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So
it could be really incredibly random stuff that you're like, I never had to think about that before. So that's actually quite terrifying. I think for singles and teams, it's a different kind of scary for the two specialty divisions, because the specialty divisions tend to be more minute details
and specific,
and very specific. So that comes with its own like, do I want to risk this? Do I like my 33.3 repeating chance of getting maybe spinner's choice?
Yeah, and I think there was also another rule, unless you're going to get to this, of the people putting slices on the wheel. I think
that's somewhere in there.
In there?
I think so.
Okay, so I'll hold off on that comment. But yeah, it's crazy, especially for like the specialty divisions. Like, do I want to risk it and get spinner's choice? Because, like we said before, especially in Star Wars, like spinners and opponents, it's like, does it really matter?
When all the slices are movies, does it really matter?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like,
it doesn't when the slices are all movies.
So we'll see what happens with this, with the Star Wars division, to see if that'll change anything. But like, because even if the second round for Star Wars stays exactly the same, and all they're doing is adding these wild cards, it's like really just banking on like the wild card, really hopefully giving your opponent getting that to really mess with them. Other than that, it's like, does it really matter?
I've gotten spinner's choice once or twice, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, it's like, what? Like, do I want to be pick my own poison? I pick the one category, and they give me a whole tough load of questions that I just like blank on.
Exactly.
So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I love this change. It adds a whole new dimension. People like Oyama and Meyer and Bateman are like licking their chops, like, ooh, man.
Ooh, strategery.
Yes, strategery. So it's going to be fun and interesting to see. I'm so excited to see what type of off the wall categories for the wild card.
Especially for singles and teams, because the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
You can do literally anything.
Yeah. But you and I were discussing off camera.
Yes.
About what we would like to see and how this goes.
Right. And like I said, I wasn't, my undivided attention wasn't quite being given while we were watching this. And for that, I apologize. However, so I don't know that they covered this super in depth. I don't know, because maybe it's something that's still being worked out. I don't know. But this is what I would like to see, if I might throw in my 2 cents, you know? Because you know how it can go. There's always going to be nitpicking, you know?
Yeah.
There's always going to be stuff like that. And there's always going to be, no matter what decision you make, there's always going to be somebody that disagrees, blah, blah. And I think that a way to, dare I say, eliminate that is, because I don't know, I'm assuming that this might be the kind of thing where, let's say you spin, oh, I got a wild card. And then I go, yeah, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah. And in a perfect world, it would, you flip you take the piece off, or you flip the
like
thing
Wheel
around.
of Fortune style.
And it's like, oh, it's the wild card.
However, we've seen people that maybe they did a couple extra reps at the gym and slices
give it a
have
little
fallen
too
off
much
the wheel.
love.
A little too much mustard given to the wheel and slices have flown
It
off.
happened at Spectacular.
Yeah. So, and especially if you have a slice designed to come off, it's just has more probability to do so.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's just asking for trouble.
I assume that you spin it. Yeah, sure, I want it. And then whoever's on the desk is gonna be like, okay, you got wild card, 1. Okay, that is opponent's choice.
Yeah.
That I feel could get a little dicey.
Harry, you want to be as transparent as possible.
Want to be transparent because I feel like if things happen and if people believe that they're starting to see patterns, like, because it happened this season with digital. Like, oh, wow, corruption always seems to get opponent's choice.
Yeah, it's like,
wow, this person always gets opponent's
how
choice.
They got that
blah,
again.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing you could do about that, especially with the digital wheel. Yeah, I have to tell, we have to do how it spins.
Yeah.
So I feel like to eliminate all of that, like, and also I think it would add a lot of dramatic stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think a physical reveal of what you spin is so popular over here with his
Sorry,
phone
my brothers are texting me about the Rams cards game. See who we face in the divisional round.
Cards.
Go Bucks.
Rams cards.
Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals.
I
LA Rams.
thought that was a baseball team. Cardinals are a football team.
Yes, they are. Arizona Cardinals.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. If you would have asked me that, I would have been like, yep, definitely baseball.
They are the Cardinals. They are a baseball team.
Oh,
Cardinals.
so I'm not too far.
You're not. Yeah.
Okay.
No. I can't remember what city they're in.
Arizona. Probably.
I don't watch baseball.
No, baseball. Not my cup of tea.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Me neither.
I think a physical reveal of the wild card. Okay, so here's what goes on in my brain.
Yeah.
So you got your wild card slices. Maybe they're glittery. That's what I would do if I made them. And I think there's some glittery stuff in the Wheel of Fortune slices.
Oh, yeah.
So you have your wild card slices, right? Yeah, like when you win the big money.
Yeah,
I feel like
the
it's
$1 million slice. Yeah.
It's shimmery. So you have your slices, and maybe there's actually a 1, a 2, and a 3 on your wild card slices. I think
colors.
Or color. Yeah, colors would work too. Yeah, that would work too.
Yeah.
I think that it would be fun. It would be a one-time expense, but I don't think it would be out of this world crazy expensive.
Yeah.
I think when they bring and this obviously goes for studio matches, when they, usually Alex or whoever brings out the wheel and they put it out there, I think it would also be fun if they had like
envelopes.
Yeah. And then when I think of these envelopes, I'm thinking, on Blue's Clues, when they get a piece of mail. Well, I don't know, not now, because Blue's Clues now, not millennial, we're millennials, Gen Z
Zers.
or whatever.
Josh.
Whatever generation little kids are now, because she's not Gen Z.
No,
she's younger than that, whatever it is.
I don't know what it is.
Now. Gen Nano. I don't know.
No,
whatever she is, whatever the little ones now are, they're Blue's Clues now. When we were all growing up with Steve, it was, we just got a letter. We just got a letter. And Mailbox would bring him a letter, and he would open this big ass letter and pull out his letter, and then he would read it to us. Now, because, kids are born with a smartphone in their hands, iPhones probably. Now, instead of getting a letter from Mailbox just like pops into the frame and is like, you got an email. And
no,
then
he gets letters too.
Oh, does he?
He does. He does the same thing. When he opens it up, it's like this green screen like video that shows on the card. So he still opens a letter. It's just like a digital like video letter thing So he still does it. Come on, Josh.
It's
He's
like,
Filipino.
hey, you got an email. And it's not so much. He opens a physical letter.
He opens a physical letter.
Every time?
No, sometimes he gets email. Sometimes he gets a letter. And it's just like an envelope that he opens up and it folds open. And then it's like a video from like a kid or a celebrity. It's
you
like,
got to update it for the times, you know. He also used to draw his clues on a notepad.
He still does. It's just
he does. But now the notepad is the back of a smartphone.
Yeah. And that's where he opens his emails from.
I don't. You can't knock what they're doing. They're keeping with the times.
Hey man, Josh is cool.
No, Josh is great.
I like Josh. He's Filipino.
I love Josh. He's great. I love Josh.
They have an episode where they make bibingka.
And it's masarap.
And it's masarap.
Very adorable. You know.
Side note. Sorry, we were actually watching that episode a couple of days ago with my daughter, and because Josh's Lola or his grandma comes over, and our daughter calls my mother Nana.
Right.
And she points at the church and goes, "Oh, it's Nana." I'm like, "It's not Nana.
Precious.
It's not Nana." It's like she goes, "Oh, it looks like Nana." I'm like, "Yes, it does."
Sure, but it's not.
Yeah.
But that's adorable.
Yeah.
Anyways, Josh is great. We love him. We watch a lot of Blue's Clues. Anyways, that's the envelope that I'm like seeing in my head, like a big envelope like that. So Alex or whoever brings out the wheel. And then also somebody brings out 3 big envelopes. And whether they're color coordinated or they have a 1, 2, or 3 on them, they lay them out on a podium. That happens to be on the stage. Oh, I spin the wheel. Oh, I landed on wild card number 2. Do I want to take it? Yeah. And God help me if I ever land on one. I'm so damn indecisive that I'm sorry to everybody out there. Spin it. Oh, sure. I'll take it. Can you imagine somebody with the theatrics of a Mike Kalinowski or somebody with the like crowd opposition of a Chandru?
Yeah.
You know, somebody who usually puts on a very theatrical show.
Yeah.
Anybody could elicit a good reaction, but I'm thinking those big names, you know, they go over to this table. They go, yeah, I'll take my wild card. They go over to the table. And instead of waiting for the announcer to be like, you got spinner's choice. Cool. Like they walk up.
Yeah.
And they can make it.
As much as like they can play it up. It's like, oh, you got spinner's choice. Like that would be fun. But
it's fun. But imagine Mike Kalinowski walking up to this table and like, and like doing his thing, because you know he would play it up and he would pause and he'd like try to peek in the other ones or whatever, and then picking up envelope 2, and then whether they look at it themselves and we look at their reaction, try to guess, or maybe they spin it around and they just hold it up so that the crowd sees it and they have to guess by the crowd's reaction. I think that would be so dramatic.
Yeah, it would be entertaining.
Could you imagine Chandru? He's a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
He's really bad now. Going to go up against Smets.
Yeah.
Smets is a freaking hero.
Yeah.
For many reasons. Can you imagine Chandru getting wild card and walking up to a podium and holding up opponent's choice and the crowd loses their effing minds?
Yeah.
I think that would make up for such a better moment than waiting for somebody to read it off the screen. And also, it's incredibly transparent.
So you can't,
Nobody's going to be able to be like, oh, funny how, you know, that kind of thing. It's completely transparent. It's right there, revealing.
Everybody can see it in front of you.
Real time. You know, that's how I would do it.
I think it would be.
If it were my show. It's not, but that's how I would do it if it were my show. I think a physical reveal would be so dramatic and so fun and so exciting.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the specifics are of how it's going to work. If it is just going to be the announcer saying or whatever. But
it's the cheapest and most efficient way to do it.
It's the cheapest and most efficient way, but we also like a good show. Am I right, ladies? So I think the physical reveal is the way to go.
Yeah, but I think this was the biggest change that we got out of all these rules.
Yeah.
And it's wild. There's no other word for it. No pun intended, but pun intended, it's wild.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be fun. And I can almost see almost everybody, if you're the first person to spin, now this has a whole other dimension of like, well, do you want to spin first or do you want to spin second? Well, I want to spin second now, because now it's more opportunity for them to land on the wild card first.
And thus increasing my chances of guessing what I might.
Exactly.
Because if they take a wild card off the board and you know it's opponent's choice and that they got, now you're like, okay.
50-50 shot
50-50 shot, you know, and maybe that, you know, off category card will do me good.
Yeah.
You know, so it is going to add a whole new level of strategy. I keep having to fight myself from saying strategy. But it does add a whole new level of strategy, I do think.
I think, yeah.
And I can't wait to see who the first person is to spin and keep a wild card. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Wouldn't it be somebody's luck? It's like, you know what? Let's do it. And then it's the off brand category. And I'm so curious to see what type of questions they'll get.
Yeah.
So, because like the way they described it, it's like something you can't really prepare for. It's like, this. What?
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Types of foods eaten and
Yeah, it could be something like that. Something completely
dinner
random.
Dishes.
Yeah.
From
famous drinks.
Time cinema. Yeah.
Yeah, famous drinks in cinema or favorite location, like famous locations in cinema.
Types of cars.
Mm-hmm. Historical events happening in cinema or something weird like that.
Or like cinematic firsts.
That's fantastic. Stuff like that. Cinematic coincidences or something like that. Like, just so happened that this happened during this year.
Oh, that sounds horrific.
Yeah. But that's it's not out of the question.
No, it's not. And that's why it's
terrifying.
Kind of scary, mainly, I think, for teams and singles, but also you never know where they're going to come for the specialty divisions. So they could go real weird with it.
I like weird.
But, we'll see.
We'll see. All right. What's the next change? God, there's one that I really want to touch on, but I can't for the life of me think of it right now.
Maybe it's in one of these last ones. In teams and singles, players and teams still get 2 slices on the wheel. So they get to pick 2 slices to go on the wheel. In IG, players now get 1 slice on the wheel. If the IG champ chooses to remove wildcard slices, then each IG player will get 2 slices on the wheel. That doesn't seem like a gigantic change. What's the change there?
IG players get to put stuff on the wheel now?
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Because I've spoken to teams, that was the same.
Yeah, I've spoken to several IG players. It's like, we've never been able to pick slices.
Right.
But now that, again, they're expanding the division more. Like they said, they're adding 40 more like movies to the catalog. So now there's more categories, so you can put more stuff on the wheel.
Yeah. And it also, strategically speaking, if you're an IG, and now it's like, well, I don't really want say you're the champ and you're trying to defend. I don't know if I want wild cards in the wheel. What if it screws me over? Maybe I'll take them off. Oh shoot! But now I'm giving them an extra chance to get their own slice.
Yeah.
So it adds a whole,
a whole new dimension,
a little layer of spice.
I've always thought, and this will never happen. Now that I think about it, I don't think it should be, but I always thought like a wild new rule would be, it's just for choosing slices. You should either get the option of, especially for singles and teams, to either add 2 or add 1 and veto 1. So for a fact you go up against Ben Bateman.
I'm gonna take movie release dates off.
Veto movie release dates and add whatever other category on there. So now there's no shot at him getting movie release dates in the second round. I always thought that'd be an interesting thing. I don't think, now that I say it out loud, I think it's a dumb decision to do that.
Well, because are you talking that would happen before the match?
Yeah, that would happen before the match.
Well, yeah, that wouldn't work because I don't think going in, this person knows what this person put on the wheel and vice versa.
Well, no, that's the thing. It's like, if he just chooses to, it's like, I'm going to put this on the wheel, and if he chooses to put movie,
you're just taking a chance. He might not even put it on there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
crazy though. But I thought that'd be an interesting thing. I don't think it should, because it comes with its own like, well, no, kind of attitude to it. So I think it'd be interesting. And it added a whole new level, because like, the reason I thought it was because the Counter-Strike things that you choose maps, you veto maps,
right? That
your opponent is good on.
Yeah.
So I thought that'd be fun.
Well, that's why it's good to throw things out there.
Yeah. But I don't think it would work in something like this sport. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a small change.
It's a small change. I think it affects IG the most, because now they can.
Yeah.
It adds
it's
more.
It's the only one it affects, literally. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and we still don't get to choose slices. So I mean, it doesn't really matter again for.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't really matter. If a player or team is ahead going into the betting round, they can have a respin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if champion chooses to keep the wild card slices on, it'd be like spinning the wild card, and if you get to eat a mulligan. So yeah. You
get to spin again. No need to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
You now have the chance to spin again in the betting round.
And I like it. And I like that, because now it's like having the lead in the betting round is more important now.
Yeah.
So now you have more control of what slices you get.
Yeah.
So I like that.
An interesting one. Mm-hmm. Whiteboards will only be allowed.
This is the one I want to talk about.
Only be allowed. Mm-hmm. Whiteboards will only be allowed in round 1, the betting round, and sudden death. So only in rounds where the whiteboard is traditionally a necessity.
Yes. So first, third, and first, betting, and overtime.
Right.
So this is interesting because
I did not see this one coming.
There's a handful of players that I wouldn't say rely on their board for success, but they prefer to have it with them and use it and utilize it. Several players have done that last season. I've heard behind the scenes that with certain players that they try to implement this rule right before the match,
and it didn't go too well.
So there's a lot of backlash, a lot of back and forth. So now I think before any of this happens again this coming season, they're putting in the books like you're not allowed to use it.
It's interesting. I would love to hear the discussion that went into this that made it seem like it was like, no, we need to implement this. I'm really curious what would spawn it.
I think it was more because of in previous seasons past, before digital was a thing.
Yeah. It wasn't a thing. They would take your whiteboard. They would
literally take your whiteboard away. Yeah. Even though I remember it not being so, but I guess my memory serves me wrong.
Well, I feel like there were some times where they were taken away and sometimes that they weren't. But I feel like traditionally it was like, well, you got your whiteboard and now you don't.
Yeah. And we're all, again, it unifies the league now. It's everybody's unified across the board now. Whether you wanted to use it or not, now you can't use it.
Right.
So now it's like you're left to your own devices now as everybody else is now.
Right.
So it adds a whole new dimension. I'm sure the players that did use it will adjust. They're going to have to now.
Yeah, you don't really have a choice.
There's no choice. And there are certain circumstances where I think it would be useful, especially
I have one very specific thing from one of my matches that I was like, I would have used a whiteboard for this.
Yeah, but also in certain situations, bringing in my own experience, the Tidarium situation, I think really would have helped me if I would have picked my board up and wrote it down. I think situations like that, I think is where like, oh, I really need my board for this. So now I don't have that option. So now I'm just gonna have to, gotta roll with it. So this is, I'm sure people are debating this back and forth of why it needs to be there, why it shouldn't be a thing, or why it should be a thing.
Yeah,
I like it just because not everybody does it, and sometimes it could be an advantage. Maybe you're in the second round, and your opponent goes to multiple choice instead of like mentally noting like, okay, they chose this they chose A, and for some reason you blanked, and it's like, oh, it's coming back to me. They chose A and you wrote it down.
Right.
So don't say A.
Right.
So that could be an advantage. Now you're left to your own devices to really pay attention and make sure you're on top of your game.
Yeah. I'm kind of neutral on this one. I don't really care either way.
Yeah.
But if I had to argue against you, or not against you, but I guess, I don't know.
Counter argument.
My counter argument would be like, nobody was ever told they weren't. It was never a matter of like, well, they could use them, but you couldn't. Like everybody else had the opportunity.
Yeah.
And once digital happened and nobody was there to take your whiteboard.
Yeah.
Everybody had the same opportunity. I'm sure nobody really got up between rounds. Your whiteboard was probably within arm's reach. Anybody could have. So it's not like the ones who did were given special rules and privileges.
Special treatment. Yeah.
Exactly. If I wanted to use a whiteboard, like I remember in the last round at Spectacular, Sam came up to me and said, do you want your whiteboard for round 5? And I was like, no, I'm good. So where was I going with that? But I guess the point is that anybody could have. It's not that, we know that Oyama, we know that Harper, we know that Parker they like to use it. And it's not like the powers that be were like, they get to do it, but nobody else can. Well, because we know they like it, but the rest of you can't. All of us had the opportunity to. It's especially in digital. So that's why I'm kind of like, I don't care either way.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna affect the players that did it.
No,
it's just
pivot, you adjust.
They'll adjust, and it's not like things are gonna fall out of their head because they can't write it down.
No,
but I am like that example I gave is like if like a situation comes up to where I was like, oh, I would really like a whiteboard to do this. Will I be allowed to? Or it's like, well, no, you're out of luck.
Yeah, because if like Tidarium comes up, first, I get so triggered.
Yeah,
just thinking about that. First of all, I don't think that kind of situation would come up again. For reasons that I don't need to explain. But yeah,
I think it's just going to come down to, it's like, well, the rule book says we can't give you the whiteboard in this round.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just don't want to. I don't want to say things.
And there are things in the rule book now that will prevent things like that from happening again.
Yes.
So, and again, I'm surprised they didn't name it the Tydirium rule, because it's like now if something like that happens, it's no longer can you spell it or something. It's can you repeat your answer. So, yeah. So, I think this affects competitors very little. I don't think it was a point of contention that I think they actually needed to have it in the rule book. Now it's like, well, now it's in the rule book. You can't use it unless it's. I'm
curious when and how it spawned, because it was. This was one of the rules, and I was like, oh, okay.
I don't know. From what I hear behind the scenes, there's a couple of managers here and there, or I don't know who was like, well, it's an advantage or whatever. It's like,
the thing is, it's an advantage. Your player could do it too.
Yeah. That's the way I look at it, is why I don't see it's a big problem, because I think it was a lot of like because Harper he's been on record saying that the reason he uses his whiteboard is so he doesn't jump the gun, and so he knows exactly, and also he writes it down for clarification too, not just for him but for the judges. So because every time he did it, he turned his board around just to be sure it's like, this is my answer. Which for Tydirium purposes, I totally can get it. Yeah. But I guess, like, we're talking about in the past, in studio matches, pre-digital era, they usually took the board away, blah, blah. Yeah. I guess, and as you were talking, I kind of thought about it like, maybe it's because traditionally in the past, when they did remove the whiteboards, it's a matter of, now I don't know what would happen if, this is a totally separate issue. Never mind. I just won't even bring that up. That's a completely separate issue. But like, it's the Schmoedown traditionally pre-digital, when things had to change. It's all been about, you need to listen to the question. You don't get the luxury of seeing it. You don't get the luxury of writing things down. Sure. Yeah. It's just, you don't get the luxury of a visual aid is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So I'm guessing maybe they're trying to do that kind of a thing of like, get back to back to basics, back to what the Schmoedown always has been. Yeah. I don't really. Pre-digital, were people doing it? No, because they didn't have the opportunity to do it. True. The only time, I mean, we could be wrong. Maybe somebody did. I don't know. The only time that I saw a thing before digital was my debut match at Celebration with the 5-weight. Laura's 5-pointer, she actually took her board and wrote down PZ4CO. Did she? Yeah. You go back and watch the tape. She actually did. She went, I don't remember that. PZ4CO, because if you're thinking too fastly, you can switch numbers around, you can switch letters around. So she was being careful and went whoop and wrote it down. So that's the only instance I've ever saw it happen before digital was a thing. Disclaimer, there might be others. I don't remember every minute detail. But that's the only time I've ever seen it. Something like that happen. Yeah. Pre us being stuck in our freaking rooms. I'm assuming it's just a blanket way of being like, well, this is the Schmoedown has always been. It's just you and the questions, nothing else. Yeah. And that's maybe the rationale behind it. I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting and did not expect it at all. Yeah. So I know it's been a little bit of a topic of debate, but the rules are out. So, IG slices. This one I think is funny that people get upset at. IG slices can now wind up on the wheel in regular play without a player or team requesting them. This one I think is funny when people get, a bee in their bonnet about it. Get a little tussly. Dude, what is it with you and bees? I do think it's a little funny when people are like, buzz, 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 buzzy, buzzy, bee, buzzy, buzz. Dude, what is with you and bees? Because I feel like there were some people that was like, oh, come on. Yeah. We got a whole IG division. But it's also like, hey. They're movies. They're still movies. Yeah. The singles division is singles and teams, all encompassing. Yeah. Is Iron Man a movie? Yeah. That makes it eligible for singles and teams. So guess what? Star Wars can show up in IG and in singles and teams. So theoretically, it could. Yeah. Has it a lot? Not really, because there are specialty divisions, but you can't get mad at that possibility. They're literally movies. So, and they fall under the umbrella of singles and teams being everything ever. Yeah. So, and if you get Star Wars
in singles or teams, they're not going to be asking you about PZ4CO. I'm sure.
I doubt it. Like I remember there's a match with it was Odd Couple, and I can't remember who they're playing. I think it was Who's the Boss. Yeah, it was Who's the Boss, and Odd Couple got Star Wars. Questions weren't on our level.
They weren't Star Wars division level.
They were. One of them was like, how many of these things chased them out of the Death Star? And I was
who said this one thing?
Yeah, who said this line? And it was a very
What's the name of this one character?
Yeah, it was a very gettable quote. So it's not like you're gonna see ridiculous.
They're not gonna ask you RMA solo.
They're not gonna ask you that in singles or I think one of the IG things that they got. I think it was from Moose Haas. I can't remember who it was. They asked for. Oh no, it was for Brandon Hanna. It was the Ty Whisper. No, it was Ty Silencer.
Yeah.
Ty Silencer. It's like, whoa, that was a tough one for. It's like it was a tougher question for IG. I will admit that, but it's like
I feel like that question is a great example of a good Star Wars question for IG.
Yeah,
I think it might be a little too much for singles or teams.
Yes,
but I think that was an appropriate one, maybe on the hard side for an IG match.
Yeah. And that was
I don't think that they would ask that in a singles or teams.
Yeah, and that question was his hardest question in that round.
I think so.
I would so because all the rest of the questions were very very gettable for an IG player, but that Ty Silencer one was like, oh, you really need to do research, but it was also part of like kind of the marketing campaign for that movie.
I remember hearing that question, being like, wow, okay.
So it was an impressive like question for IG, but then
but they're not going to be asking you that in singles and teams, I don't think. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is they're movies. So, they're fair game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. They're movies. It's not like when Christian introduced specialty divisions, he was like, okay, now we're going to omit these totally from regular gameplay. Yeah. It's just, hey, we're going to really dig into them in these specialty divisions.
Get more specific. The more specific you go with the division, the more specific the questions have to get.
For people that like to hurt themselves.
Put themselves to the ringer.
Oh, boy. There will now be a streaming slice.
Ooh, yeah, this is interesting.
And all eligible films in such slice will be available to competitors. What, like a list, I'm guessing?
Yeah, because they have to be... I don't know what's going to constitute what they can ask.
Some slices beyond the streaming slice may also include films only available via streaming. Such films will also be made known to competitors beforehand. There's your transparency. You're going to have a list. It sucks because it's, especially for singles and teams, because it's just so incredibly expansive. But if they give you they're not going to give you a list for singles and teams. That's ridiculous.
For the streaming.
But for streaming,
streaming, they almost have to, because now it's like, well, what are you accepting? Because you can go down a rabbit hole with Netflix. It's like, they're never going to ask about this documentary, movie, whatever.
Yeah.
This off, like, oh, the history of butter. It's like, are we going to ask about that?
You're going to ask me about Too Hot to Handle?
Yeah, exactly. So.
Love is Blind? Oh. That show's hilarious. I think Too Hot to Handle is actually on Hulu. My bad. But Love is Blind, I think, was Netflix. Yeah. That show is so dumb, and I love it.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
But yeah, I think it's smart, because there are certain movies that came out in the past year or two because of COVID that didn't see theatrical release, but it was eligible for awards.
Did Black Widow have a theatrical release?
Yes, it did.
Oh, okay.
It was
only digital.
It was released in theaters, but its shelf life in theaters was short, I believe. I could be wrong.
I don't know movies enough to give you an example of something that was streaming only ever.
It was released it was one of those weird like Mulan situations where it was released on Disney Plus. You just had to have like the premium membership or whatever. You had to pay for it. Is
Mulan a good example? It was not theatrically released?
It was not theatrically released,
there you go.
But it'll probably be on that list.
Yeah, we still haven't watched. How embarrassing. We really need to, because I like Mulan.
I do. I love Mulan. It's one of my favorite Disney animations.
Did we tell you guys we finally watched Shang-Chi?
Love that movie.
That's great.
So I want to watch it again, because there's so many, like, it was like the first time I watched it, it's like, oh, the fight scenes are amazing, and it doesn't all that stuff, but like there's so many, now that I look back on it, there's so many small little nuances of like stories and like cultural things for Asian Americans and things like that. I'm like, wow, that like will resonate with me. especially with my experience growing up. So I really want to watch it again.
Martial artist.
Yeah, as a martial artist, as an Asian American.
Yep.
So I want to go back and watch it. Because there's one thing that with what's her name? The female lead. What's her name?
She ain't Star Wars.
No.
Who is the female? What?
The female lead. Sean's not love interest. But
Awkwafina.
Awkwafina. There's this one line in there about like her Chinese name,
right?
And something that the father says about like, oh, names will connect us, and it's like that's something that I don't have that. I don't have that kind of connection.
You don't have like an American.
I don't have an American and a Filipino name. It's just, my name's Andrew. But like, there's so many other people that I've met through the years. Like, growing up in Sangjin Ro, like we called them Sang or Jin. But like
Sangyu, so it's Gui.
No, actually, no. I think a better example of that would be Agnes. Grandmaster's wife. Her American name was Agnes, but her Korean name is Jungha. Right. I called her JJ or Nuna. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, do you want to go by your Asian name and have everybody mispronounce it? And like, is this how you say it? And they just end up giving you a nickname anyways. Yeah. Or just go by your American name where everybody can pronounce it. And it's just stuff like that. I want to go back and watch that and sort of appreciate that film more. So
also, it ain't hard on the eyes. Am I right? So I'm fine watching it again.
It was a lot of fun. I want to go back and watch it. Anyways.
Yeah. Also, his sister, badass.
Oh yeah, so cool.
My God, she was like, girl, you're spicy. As soon as I saw her hair, I'm like, oh, she's gonna be a lot to handle. It's like, man.
Yeah.
That was a good movie though.
It was a great movie.
So yeah, streaming slices. And the last one that we have here, the benefit of the doubt rule
this is the one I want to talk about. Thank you.
Still exists.
This is what I want to talk
about. But
it
only applies when no other rule already applies. I think that is a interesting definition, also kind of vague.
It is kind of vague, but I do like now they got away from the close enough rule. I did not like the way that the benefit of the doubt was interpreted over the course of the last season, because there was sometimes where they did it one way for a match, but then it completely contradicted themselves in a couple matches down the road. It's like, what? No, according to what you just said in this last match, that's not the way it should. But the manager argued in a way it's like, well, yeah. So I'm glad that they got away from the close enough rule.
Yeah.
This rule is now in the way that if something happens in the match that's unforeseen, this rule is in there to help us adjust. So I like that they got away from that, because you could argue so many different ways for benefit of the doubt to where you're completely off base and then you get the point anyways, or against it and get somebody's point taken away because of benefit of the doubt.
Right.
So I like that they're sort of giving a concrete reason why it's in there, but not really. It's less now up to interpretation and more now to cover something that might happen that we just didn't plan for.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you think of a good example from any match, probably more so from the last 2 seasons where it was digital, but can you think of a good example where you're like, that's a great use of benefit of the doubt and how it's intended to be used?
Oh, God.
I feel like there was
one match that happened.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
There was one match where it's like, that is exactly what benefit of the doubt is there for.
Yeah.
I think it was, oh my God, it had to do with a title or of some sort, a title of a movie because like, I think really what it came down to was spelling and pronunciation. Because like you might have spelled it, it's like, oh, it's spelled this, but I got it close. You knew what I was saying. I said it right way. I just couldn't spell it right. That's what benefit of that was there for. Yeah. So, but now that there's so many other situations that happen, it's like, oh, we can't really rely on this rule anymore, because now it's like it didn't happen a lot, but when the situations came up, it almost became the close enough league. It's like, you know what I was saying.
And I don't mean to bring up another Brandon Hanna match, but the Tortuga.
Yeah.
And there was another one too.
There was that
one guy, the wrestler. Was he a wrestler? Rowdy Piper.
Roddy and Rowdy.
Roddy and Rowdy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mean to bring another match of his up, but it's a great example. I don't know what your thoughts are of should he gotten it, should he not have gotten it.
We've already talked about it, but
that's it's a good example of that's what I meant. Yeah. But then again, that's kind of like a spelling thing.
Yeah, and it's also where one of those things where you can like, well, we can't accept it. But he's like, you know what I meant. And it's like, all right, we'll give it to you. Or on the flip side of that, it's like, oh, well, we got it. It's like, well, he shouldn't have got that. And you argue benefit of the doubt shouldn't be a thing or whatever. That's what I'm saying. The benefit of the doubt rule is so vague.
Yeah.
It can be, you can argue for and against, and you can basically get almost there and not get the points. Like, well, you know what I meant. Right. And they give it to you anyways.
Right.
So I'm glad that it's a concrete thing. It's no longer just because the benefit that was put in there protect players. Now it's protecting the entire league. Now it's like, oh God, we didn't foresee this happening. We have this rule now to where we can be flexible with the rule.
I think I could still see people using it.
I don't. Well,
in a way that's kind of like close enough.
Yeah.
I the fact that it's still there.
But it's less of close enough now to now. It's just more. It's a little bit more concrete as to what they're looking for with it now. So the events that the benefit that covered this past season are now actual rules saying no, it needs to be this now. So like the title rule of the omitting and adding of articles,
right?
That's an actual rule now. That's something that was covered with benefit of the doubt last season. Now you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I like that they're changing it up, mainly because of it was just all over the place for that rule. And there's so many situations where it's like,
whoever is planning on whoever they're looking at to be line judges, I hope they know this rule book forward and backward. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, now they're just, that was one of the requirements. You had to be well versed in the book, and you will have a printed out copy, not a little digital thing where it can be hacked and whatever. It's a physical copy in your hands. Like, well, and it'll be a table of contents where you can get to rules faster. So, yeah, I think those are the two things I was aside from the wild card things I was really excited for was the line judge and the benefit of the doubt. So yeah,
nice. A lot of changes.
Yeah.
A lot of changes. I think, and I
think that's all of them.
I think that's all of them that are here.
Yeah.
But I think that they're solid.
Yeah.
Like
this might change.
For the most part, pretty solid.
Yeah. Things might show up to where it's like, oh, we really need to go back and adjusting. It's not, again, there's not gonna be major changes. It's like, well, we need to change the wording of the rule here and there. It's most likely gonna happen. We already saw it happen last season anyways. So I foresee a couple of changes, but for right now, this is solid. I like the changes that were made, and it only makes the game move along faster and more efficiently. Yeah, and most of them are just little tweaks here and there. The one wild card is the wild card. So gotta keep things kind of spice things up a little. Here or there. Like it. So yeah. It'll make things interesting because, then not that I think that Schmoedown was even close to feeling stale, but you don't want to get there before you start backpedaling and scrambling to spice it up. So I think that this is a smart move. I think the wild card, I think they made a really good analogy with basketball. It's like introducing the 3-point line. It's like it changes the game so much without really changing the fundamentals of the game. Yeah. So it's like, hey, this is here if you want it. Yeah, it's like, hey, you don't have to take a 3. You don't have to take a 3. Yeah, exactly. But you could if you want to. It might end up more bad. It's more risky to take that 3, but the benefit is tremendous. It changes the game. I'm not sure that I ever shot 3s in any of my games. Really? Did I? No, because you were you're a point guard, weren't you? I was a point guard. Do point guards usually shoot 3s? I don't know. I mean, they can. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Were you a shooter? Were you I don't know. Did you play in the paint? I don't know. I didn't play basketball. I ran in high school and kicked people in the face. And I mean, I'm sure I did. I just don't remember. It was a very long time ago. But yeah, it's there if you want it. You want to take a 3? Go ahead. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can spin away from that wild card. Well, the only crappy thing is it's not like it's not guaranteed. Well, it's not guaranteed, but also in the Schmoedown, it's like, well, if you spin it in round 2, you do got to take that 3. Sorry. So it's not completely optional, but you at least have a little control over whether you want to do it or not. Yeah. Unless it's your second spin. It's going to be interesting. There might be very few times where like these rules come into play, but exactly. Didn't the same kind of stuff happen last season in between seasons where it was like, here's some updates and people were like, oh, well, come on. Like with the whole, factions can't go against each other. Yeah. The triple threat. That thing came up and it's like people freaked out. And then it was like, it was probably never even affect anything. And when it did happen, they completely struck it from the rule book. It was never a thing. Yeah. So I think the one thing that happened last season in the rule book was the benefit of the doubt thing that came up more than they wanted to. So, but well, things will change. We'll adapt accordingly. But for the most part, I do not envy singles and teams.
Oh, hell no. Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, thanks. Especially now that we have like streaming is a thing. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, like,
no.
glad I'm a Star Wars competitor.
Am I?
And also, not really.
Am I? No, never mind. Hashtag blessed. Okay, so there are a couple things that I just wanted to bring up just for fun.
Okay.
If you didn't catch it, this past weekend I was on Happy Hour on the Certain Point of View channel. Me and Jill and Molly just shooting the breeze.
That was a fun. I wasn't a part of the show, and I had a lot of
You
fun.
had a
watching.
little cameo.
Yeah.
You had a little cameo from here to there.
Here to there, but I no, like for genuinely, like because you guys went for 3 hours.
3.5 hours.
3.5
and I gotta
hours,
tell
sorry.
you,
And
it went by in the blink of an eye.
It was a lot of fun to watch.
Like when I looked at my phone and it was like midnight, I'm like, oh no. I didn't I mean, also, but it was not oh no, like but it was like oh no, like already.
Yeah.
Like I still want to keep going. But you know,
it was a lot of fun to watch. I can't imagine.
Had to call it a night at one point because you know I got stuff to do the next day. But God, it was so much fun. Like I, from the bottom of my heart, pray it's not the last time. First, but
I
not the
want to be on
last.
it now with like the couples type of thing because I remember watching one with Alex was on there.
I think
the Scrimshaws were on there.
Scrimshaws and Jill and Sean.
Jill and Sean were on there. Yeah.
You know? So, no, I want to do that a lot, which I know is not going to happen because you don't want to have the same person on every time. And I hope they had fun with me, as much fun as I had. But also, like, it was a lot of fun. But also, I didn't even come close to my final form.
You only got Kaioken, Nikki. You didn't get Super Saiyan, Nikki.
I was not even close to my final form because I'm like, this is the first time I'm really getting to sit down and drink with you guys. I still want you to like me by the end of this.
This isn't the first time you drank with these people.
I mean, it's the first time I've been able to undividedly, uninterrupted sit and not scream at people in the bar.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good point.
Which was a nice breath of fresh air. Would I have rather done it in person? Sure. But, you know, don't we all live in 3 totally separate states? So this was the best we could do. The
Damons are only a 4 to 5 hour drive north of us.
Come on down, baby. We got an extra bedroom. Got a treadmill in it. I don't know why I'm Southern for that, but come on down, Damon.
It's snowing in Georgia for some reason now. Like, really? It snows in Georgia? Can you get some of that down here in Central Florida?
Ship it down.
Ship it down.
Just, you know, get some fans and wave it on down.
Get your fan, Molly.
It is hot. Yeah, right. It is hot as hell down here. So not today. Today was beautiful.
Today was nice.
But anyways, that was so much fun. I cannot wait. I'm going to manifest that it's going to happen again and again and again. So I cannot wait to do it again one day, whenever that day happens. Cannot wait.
Yeah, we'll look a brother up. I want to have some drinks.
We'll see how much further I'll go because I was nowhere near my final form, baby. Don't know if I'm ready to reveal that to people yet that haven't yet seen it. Anyways,
you don't want me reaching my final form.
You are so obnoxious.
I am. I've reined it in a bit though.
You've reined it in.
I'm not as bad as I used to be.
If there was only a way for you guys to somehow have seen us in college.
I don't think Too Sexy is ever coming out again.
That was one of Andrew's drinking alter egos.
That was
Too
my
Sexy.
That was
because for some reason you really liked the...
what was this? What was it called? The
I'm too sexy. I'm too sexy.
No, that wasn't. It was. I got it from that one Chris Kattan sketch on SNL.
Oh, the Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, I'm too sexy. Yeah,
that's where I got it. And then it just so happened that you also had that song.
Yeah,
I'm too sexy for my whatever.
Yeah.
And that just became your like theme song.
Yeah, but that's where I got it from.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. No, too sexy.
Too sexy.
It's like Horatio Sands and Chris Kattan.
Yeah,
so good. Yeah, I don't know how we came out of those years with our livers intact, but
that's college. That's what you do, baby.
Andrew gets real loud.
I'm obnoxiously loud.
You meet Andrew in person if you've already had the opportunity, or if you get the opportunity.
Reserved.
He's pretty reserved, kind of quiet when you first meet him.
Newer people. If I've met you 3 or 4 times, yeah. But yeah,
it's complete 180. Like. Going to a house party with friends.
You know exactly where I am.
You
don't even have to look.
No, you'll hear him.
You'll know where I am.
You'll hear him at the other end of the neighborhood.
Oh, guess Too Sexy's out.
His muff gets loud, you know? So,
yeah.
Yeah. No, I know you're not going to get to that point.
No, I'm never going to get to that point again.
It would take a couple sessions for that to happen.
Yeah.
And a babysitter, because we're not trying to wake up the kid.
No.
So, but yeah, no, it's going to happen. I'm manifesting it and I cannot wait. What was the other thing?
The thing on Twitter. The Smallhead Evan.
Yes. I don't know if Gold Leader watches this
He
show.
does. I'm pretty sure he does.
We were gifted, blessed.
It will be the thumbnail of this show.
If you've never, if we say the term Smallhead Evan and you don't know what that is, my dudes, it's hilarious. This Gold Leader, he makes these pieces of art where he will I don't even know how to describe it, because how do you describe
big body, small
perfection? Big body, real small head, completely out of proportion.
And it's basically his face on your body,
and he's always got the same expression, and it's just a lot of anyways, I don't know why, but it's right up my alley. And the first time I saw it, I don't know when the first time I saw it, I don't know if it was his profile picture on Facebook or whatever. Yeah. But I was like, what is that? So stupid. And the more I looked at it, I'm like,
this is
hilarious.
Yeah. It's either really stupid or just so incredibly genius.
Toeing the line.
Yeah.
Big time. So we were gifted
is a work
with
of art.
our own us as Tiny Head
on
Evan.
this studio set.
This very set, I was wearing a Star Wars shirt, and he depicted it to perfection.
Yeah.
And it's us, but with a Tiny Head Evan face, which is beyond hilarious. And I will cherish it forever. It's my Twitter banner now. So.
Oh man, it was.
If you want to see it, go to my Twitter, because go to my profile and it is my banner. So go bask in the glory of Tiny Head Evan Niki and Tiny Head Evan Andrew. Because wow,
work of art. It's perfect.
Hashtag bless.
Speaking of Twitters, we'll go ahead and here on that.
I said I was thinking of asking Christian to make that my my picture on whenever they make a graphic for a match. And then Gold Leader goes and makes that, and I lost it again when I saw that. Wow. Oh my God, what I wish he would have done. Damn it. How funny would it have been? Because he took the thumbnail for my match with Ross.
Yeah.
Evan, Gold Leader, sorry, my man. How funny would it have been to take the thumbnail for my match with him?
I think he didn't want to relive that, I guess. I
don't know, but it would have been funny. Tiny Head Evan me and Tiny Head Evan Evan.
Oh, you got to do that now.
Hilarious.
You have to do that now. And tag us, please. Because
no, I don't want to put any work on the man. Do it if it compels you. But I just think that would have been really funny. Anyways, I had to mention those two things. Happy hour, hilarious, fun time. Can't wait to do it again and again and again. And also Tiny Head us, Evan us. Wow.
So good.
What a weekend it's been.
All right. So let's go ahead and get out of here. Star Wars competitor Niki Dimalanta. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter with my brand new banner, Tiny Head me, Tiny Head Evan me. Twitter at Dimmy, DIMMYYYY.
As for me, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Drew Dimalanta, DIMALANTA. On TikTok, just past 2,000 followers. Thank you so much to everybody. At Rogue Leader Drew. Road to 5,000. Again, I want to get there before Star Wars Celebration. I'm making some really good traction.
Headway. The stretch goal is if he gets to 10,000, he'll do a backflip.
Said that on the comment section.
On Happy Hour.
On Happy Hour.
I revealed that, in Andrew's height of his martial artistry days, that one of his signatures during demos was that he would do a backflip and break 2 boards on his way up and down. That was like one of his signature things. One time he broke apples. I don't really get what precision, I guess. Precision. Hitting a small target. But yeah, one of his signatures was the backflip double board break. And everyone was like, hey, Andrew, do you think you can do it now? And he's like, not without speed dial 911. Yeah.
But I promised Justin Square, if I get to 10,000, that's what I'll do. So
that's
a long way away.
It's a long way away.
5,000 seems a long way away right now, but
it is a long way away. You're almost halfway there.
Yeah.
But, it's always good to have a stretch goal. stretch goal, you have to stretch a lot.
Yes,
so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Anyways, Rogue Leader Drew on TikTok. I'm having a lot of fun. Thank you again to everybody that followed me and greatly appreciate the support.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this on audio form, please follow the feed and rate us.
Yeah. And if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, click the bell icon in the lower right hand. Yeah, right hand. I just feel like it's been a while.
Yeah.
Right hand corner. See when we do things on YouTube. At some point, maybe this week, we do have to do a rad. It's been 84 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So we're going to do that. And also because this episode, didn't have too many yucks in it because we're just going over, the meat and potatoes of like rules.
Yeah. So official.
So,
Yeah, we'll have one of those. If nothing big happens next week for Schmoedown or this week for Schmoedown, we'll probably just do a rad in its place. So we're kind of like in a reaction stage right now where we don't have anything concrete to talk about just yet.
That's fine.
And that's fine. So if nothing big happens that we don't want to talk about,
nothing big happens.
Yeah, we'll do a rad, and rad will take the spot for that point. So, because we got to do it.
Word.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Schmoedown. We'll see you guys next time.